All right, so I think we can start. Let me start from sharing my screen. I think we can jump straight to agenda because everyone knows each other already. Okay, and we had a lot of topics today. First was proposed by Shobik, but I think Sharma will have to speak about it. So the question was, how did your first week of GitHub discussion moderator well? And I think, yeah, the question is like, what can we improve, or should we just keep doing that?
So for me, it was a good learning. Like I had to go through the code and the Slack channels and ask few people to understand, like to get the answer. And it's not that difficult. Like sometimes you can just Google what the person is asking, and the first link is the answer. So yeah, it was a good experience. But I think so I think we should decide some kind of goal. So there are few questions which are already answered. So it's like whether to like go in short, the goal should be to try to answer most of the unanswered questions and like help the user.
That's my understanding. I guess you want as
Yeah.
many open questions as possible.
Hmm.
But this is how I thought about it.
Yeah. But there would still be some questions, like very old questions, which are there, which are answered, like but not marked as answered. So, like it's hard to get to all of them, but at least few of them it can be done in a week.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And did you notice how many new questions did you get on average? Like,
It's not like I think 1 and 2 days, not that much. That
okay,
many.
so
Yeah.
it's yeah. Basically, it's easy to keep up with new questions.
Yeah. If we try to answer all the old questions, like if we have done that thing, it wouldn't be tough. Like there are not many new questions per day. So
Mhm. All right, and I noticed we used to convert some GitHub issues to discussions because some GitHub issues are basically questions, and then that feature disappeared from GitHub. Now it's back, and I think it will flow a little bit more questions into GitHub discussions.
yeah. And
So,
I have seen other people answering to, like Jan and everyone were answering to. So that's great. Like
okay. All right. I don't have
Yeah,
additional questions. Go ahead. Jan.
once in a while. So I think, okay, thank you, Kshama.
And okay, maybe we should not do it right now, but I think we need volunteer for next week. Shama is not, don't have to do it the whole week. I guess till the end of that meeting, we hopefully will get a volunteer. And yeah, I propose to move to the next topic. And if someone...
Yeah, but Devon just noted in the chat before you're moving, sorry to interrupt you, before moving to the next topic, there's one new person in the call.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and Devon just noted it, and maybe Ishita can introduce him or herself.
Hi everyone, I'm Ishita Silvera. So currently I just started working in a jobs team as an associate software engineer. Previously I worked on the CAM, which was a part of this team. So I interned here for 8 months. That was during January to August. So I'm just joining back.
Okay. I think I got most of it. Not sure if
Oh, sorry. I just can everyone hear now? Hello.
It's better.
It's better.
Yeah. Recently I joined as an associate software engineer at Red Hat. and will be working in this team. So I've, as my background, I've worked in Red Hat as an intern. That was during the last Jan.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Welcome. So yeah, it's just, I don't know if everybody can hear her well. She actually she joined us at the beginning, like she was an intern. Now she's a full-time. She actually been introduced when we were first, get together as this group, and then her intern was finished and went back to finish school, and then now she's joined us full-time in Red Hat. So yeah, welcome, welcome to Argo.
I remember the name, that's why I didn't realize the first. Okay.
Yeah, I couldn't attend any meetings. Like I was introduced, but then I couldn't attend meetings because of this clashes with the classes. Yeah. Thanks a lot. Thanks, William.
Awesome.
Right. Okay, so next topic is status of application set. Yes, Shobik added you, Jonathan. Can you please?
Yep.
Go ahead?
Yeah. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Cool. Yep. So over in the application sets repository, I've created a milestone for all the issues that we want to hit as part of the Argo Cd integration. So that's things like infrastructure tasks, tests, docs we want to write, bugs we want to fix as part of the process. And I thought I'd just briefly give you an update over the kind of stuff that's gone in over the last few weeks. We've got a few new features from various folks. So we've got new Git files discovery from Omer. So that's the ability to include JSON files at arbitrary points inside your repo and to have the Git generator pick that up. We've also got template overrides from Omer. This is another feature from the design proposal where you can actually override the contents of a template with a template that's specified as part of the generator, which is very useful. And we've also got support for arbitrary key value pairs on the cluster generator. That was from Michael, so that was also awesome. So those are the new features that have gone in over the past few weeks. We've got a bunch of tests and infrastructure PRs that went in as well. I added a new end-to-end test framework, which runs application set E2E tests against Kubernetes and against Argo Cd on every commit as part of a GitHub action. Also new GitHub actions for running unit tests, verifying the Docker build, lint and go mod tidy checks. That was from K-Vending Dole. Synchronization of the Go module, also from K-Vending Dole, as part of a couple of PRs. Michael rebootstrapped the project to a new version of KubeBuilder, so new scaffolding from KubeBuilder. And I recently set up release process and release scripts for when we want to put out our first release, following the same format as other Argo projects. I fixed a couple of bugs and wrote up some documentation on how to set up a local development environment for application sets. So yeah, overall, been pretty busy. Lots of stuff going into the application sets repo over the past few weeks, and getting things set up, new tests and infrastructure in place, new documentation, in addition to a few new features from a bunch of different folks.
That's awesome. Sounds really exciting.
Yeah, sounds like really awesome. Yeah.
I had one question.
Agreed. Yep.
I had one question about how Git generator works. Basically, we had the discussion before, like trying to reuse a repository server versus do Git operations in the same pod where Argo Cd application set runs. Do you know which way did you go at the end?
Yes, so that work is unfinished. There's still more that we can do to improve things in application set. Currently, application set is doing two things in order to get access to Git data. One thing it's doing is calling the repo server using the list apps method. So that works. The problem is that will miss some directories in the Git repository.
Mhm.
So that will correctly identify customize and Helm and I think JSONette
Mhm.
applications within a repository, but we'll miss just directories that contain plain YAMLs,
Mhm.
which is not what we want. I have a PR, or not a PR, I have a branch where I've done some work on that. I've not raised it against Argo, but there will be more. You should
Okay.
see more from me in that area in the future. The other thing that we're doing is we are actually calling Git Clone ourselves
Mhm.
as part of the it's the files part of the files field of the Git generator requires us to have full access to the repository.
Mhm.
And again, if we wanted to have repo server be just like the single point of connecting to a Git repository, we would need to replace our use of the Git CLI with a corresponding gRPC method in the repo server that would allow us to get the contents of a Git repository. That is a bit lower priority because we have a solution that's working for us right now,
Mhm.
but that's definitely something that I want to tackle as well.
Yes.
So yeah,
Good. Do you
yeah.
mind?
So the short version is,
Mhm.
yeah. Go ahead.
I'll let you finish. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So the short version is we are calling list apps on the repo server, but that's an imperfect way of getting a list of directories from the repo server, and we're calling the Git CLI, which works, but there's a more elegant way to do it.
Yeah, and I wanted to mention that I think we had same problem with Argo Cd image updater. It needs to have access to Git repository as well, and Jan decided to just kind of copy paste a part of Argo Cd first, and then make necessary changes and hopefully contribute it back.
Mhm.
And that we were discussing whether we should just have API instead of sharing the library. And it's not clear what kind of API is it. And that API is going to be unused by Argo Cd. So maybe it's good if we both kind of doing that. We're both trying to, reuse parts of Argo Cd as a part of code of Argo Cd to interact with Git. And then finally we will get, requirements of two projects, and hopefully it will be enough to create API finally, or maybe just move Git client from Argo Cd into separate library, for example, into Argo PKG. So this is where we share code. Yeah. So maybe one day we need to sync up and compare what we're doing in Argo CD image updater and application set, and see what makes sense.
Yeah, maybe it's. I think so. Alex and me, we already had the discussion on Slack, and so the current state of the repository server API is like it's a private API. It's not well defined. It's changed on will and stuff like that. Yeah, but maybe if both application set and the image updater with their use cases, or if they have enough use cases, we can maybe sit together and formalize a repo server API.
Yeah.
Uh,
And
so
honestly, Jan convinced me that it's bad to have API which is not used by by Argo CD. And honestly, I was thinking, since image updater already import Argo CD as library, kind of, why don't we just contribute a couple more private methods to Git client instead of API? It gives more flexibility. And at least in case of image updater, there is just no need to have all functionality of repo server. Image updater is not trying to access same repo in parallel. So there is no need to kind of orchestrate access and try to, so it's much simpler because it has way less use cases. All it needs, it just needs to periodically check content of one repository. It's not jumping back and forth between a bunch of Actually, it does jump, but no, it does not. Yeah, so it's basically, yeah. So there is possibility that you just have to be a Git, sorry, a Git library instead of the whole repository.
Yeah.
Okay, so but yeah,
Yep.
we should.
But
take-
maybe go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
Sorry, Jonathan.
No, you go ahead.
Hmm.
Okay, I'll go ahead. Yeah, I'll take a look at Image Updater. I didn't realize that Image Updater was doing the same thing. My guess is we're doing something similar, but I will check that out and then we'll go.
No, probably we both do very different things.
Okay.
But we have basically a requirement to access repositories that are connected by Argo Cd. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you mostly read from the direct from the repository, I guess, with the JIT generator and listing available file structure and stuff like that, and Image Updater more or less commits to the repository. So
Gotcha.
it will read a file and check the contents of the file, but mostly it was for committing back the changes. But yeah, it's the base requirement: access a repository that's connected by Argo Cd is the same. So, but maybe we can discuss this together separately and align our requirements, and then we'll see.
Yeah, sounds good. I'll check it out.
Okay, and my
Thanks.
second question about application set, Jonathan, how do you think how close it is to, to version 1? I would say, yeah, to the release.
Good question. I've got the milestone that's set up that includes the list of issues that I'd like to see. Not all of them are required. It is an ordered list.
Yeah, I'm trying to open the milestone. Yeah, but go ahead.
Yeah, I thought I'd wait for you to open it.
What are your issues?
Issues.
Okay.
Yep, so I'm just working my way down the list. Next up is the install YAML that allows to update doc work, so people know how to use the application set controller and how to install it. Some bugs. Once we've finished the doc work, the install work, and the bugs, which is about halfway through your screen, I think we'll be a lot closer to being able to put out some form of release. After that, it's just writing more tests, whether it be more unit tests or more EDE tests, which is always good. Writing more tests allows us to ensure that any release that we put out would be of higher quality, because it allows us to be sure that we have caught anything that might have slipped through the cracks. But in terms of when we could put out a release, I would say definitely getting closer, and yeah, sooner rather than later.
Awesome. Yeah, I wanted to maybe add one more item into that list. So what we basically Argo Cd 1.9 release, it's going to have a lot of changes in Argo Cd, but I think Argo notifications, image updater, and application set are pretty much part of the same release, because all three projects, they kind of relying on some features of Argo Cd 1.9, and we're going to release them and maybe make them like available to everyone as soon as 1.9 is released. And it's just, so we need to somehow explain to users that these things are also available right now, and it's not going to fit into a blog because it's like too much of content. So I was proposing to publish 3 blogs, and each blog is just a tutorial of how to get started, so people can get, just a sense of what it is.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Today I'm going to show you how.
Okay, yeah.
All right.
So I already have blog for Argo Cd notifications. I'm trying to convince Jan to work on image updater, and I'm writing that blog basically it's my way to test that image updater works as well. You know, if you're able to come up with a simple tutorial, which is, you know, someone can execute like in 10 minutes, that means,
Yep.
yeah, it's kind of, that's a great sign. And typically a lot of bugs been found during the process. And I suggest to do same for application set. So if anyone, you know, interested, welcome. I feel like it's not a big issue to add you as a writer, so you can publish your blog in Argo, in blog.argoapproach.io.
Yep.
Yeah,
Sounds good. Yeah, I'm currently writing a bunch of docs for application sets repo itself. So that would be totally consistent with what I'm already doing.
And I really like that way, you know, it's basically easier to write blog. You don't have to be as, you know, accurate. You can skip a bunch of things because the goal is to, you know, just to describe happy path. So it's just takes less time, but maybe more people is going to see that. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Awesome. This is it, right? We can move to the next topic.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Thanks.
Cool. Okay, thank you. All right. This topic was proposed by William last time. We didn't have time to talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wonder if everyone, what your thoughts are if we can move the time up an hour or two, because we have few votes from India. They would like to join, but it's, you know, it's at the midnight time right now. So 1 hour probably, 1 hour good. I know that also means for guys on the West Coast, they get up earlier. So I don't know. So 1 hour, 1 hour, 2 hours. Any possibility that we can change, move the time up a little bit. So I don't know what to.
Yeah, I think we want what the best time, which is, you know, best for majority of who joins that meeting. I personally prefer earlier. I would move it, you know, to think basically in our time zone. In my time zone, it's 10 a.m. I would prefer it to be even 8 a.m. I don't know. And then someone else, I think, would prefer 9 a.m. Okay. Anyone have strong objections to move it to 9? To basically to 1 hour earlier?
No, yeah.
I'd be grateful for that. So it's not midnight here, but it's yeah, it's already way in my leisure time.
Jan and Henrik, Ed and Henrik, what do you think? You are in the same time zone. Is it too early for you, 9 a.m., or is it okay?
No, I think 9 is good. Why don't we try that? And
I'm a morning person. I'm fine with as early as 6:30 a.m. So you don't have to worry about me.
so when we move to daylight savings time, then it'll be earlier in India, right?
Okay, so maybe then 9 is a good compromise. Like, wait, 1 hour. We can start from it, and if it's still too late, we can then daylight time to help us.
Okay. Don't forget to update the community calendar.
Okay, sounds good. I will do it right after the meeting.
And Slack the Argo channels, of course. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
And all right. So I'm trying to move to the next topic, and I realized that we talked about it already, and the person who started discussion is not in that meeting, right?
Was not here today.
Yeah, and I think he started discussion. I don't know if we were supposed to discuss it again or not, but I think for now we have to skip it, and then.
Yeah, I think we did cover it last time.
Yeah, so maybe we can just remove it and.
Yeah, agree.
He can edit again if needed. Right. Moving on. So GitHub discussions moderator. I guess Shobik edited, and I think idea is to find a volunteer for the next week. Anyone wants to be a volunteer? If not, then I'm going to be that guy because I don't mind to be this moderator for the next week. So counting 1, 2, and 3. Okay. So
yeah, I will do it sometime, not next week. Still busy. So yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
and I
For
will
me,
try
the
to.
same. I'll be starting a new job next week, so probably not so much time.
Right. So in this case, I will be that guy. Yeah, I will try to spend an hour every morning and answer questions. And as Sharma mentioned, there is not so many questions.
Yeah.
So it's not.
But I volunteer for the week next week, so then we don't have that discussion.
Okay, good. Sounds good. All right. Devon, you had a question about self-healing and auto-prune.
Yeah, so and some of our colleagues who have been discussing on this, just trying to get the idea of the expected behavior and the actual behavior. So, in under autosync, you can have both flags checked. So you could have auto prune and you could have self heal. So we'd like to understand that if we uncheck self heal, but still check auto prune, are we expecting any kind of resources that is not in our Git repository to be deleted if we create it on the cluster? So the behavior we're seeing, like the actual behavior we're seeing is, let's say we create a non-K-Days resource, let's say OpenShift route. If we create that while self-healing is not checked, only auto-prune is checked, we are expecting this to get deleted. It doesn't get deleted. If self-healing is checked as well, then yes, it does get deleted because self-healing is working as a shield that I'm not going to let anything change to your cluster. So we have like few scenarios in our head. One is completely auto-sync unchecked and then auto-sync checked, and four combinations of self-healing auto-prune. And for each of these combination, what kind of resources does get deleted and does not get deleted. So that's something I wanted to check with the community on the expected behavior.
I think I know, I can at least partially answer that question. So first, maybe I want to talk about meaning of these two flags. So, and they are kind of not, so, okay, so self-healing decides when the sync process should start. So if self-healing is disabled, then auto-sync starts sync process only if new commit got pushed into Git. So that means basically every time you commit something into the Git, auto-sync will trigger exactly one syncing process. And yeah, so if between these two commits something changed in the cluster, Argo Cd will notice the diff, but it will not attempt to sync the change because there were no changes in Git. And okay, and if self-healing is enabled, then auto-sync will try to synchronize the change every time it's seeing the diff.
Okay.
So, yeah, and that's why it explains why. And auto-prune is it's completely different. Auto-prune means is Argo Cd going to delete resources during auto-syncing process or not? Actually, I think it's not even auto-prune, it's just prune resources. And during normal syncing, you can decide to prune resources or not. And it's the same thing in auto-syncing. During auto-syncing process, you can decide to prune resources or don't prune it.
Yeah, like for example, when I'm seeing this from a lens of let's say new user who's just following the Argo Cd documentation and see what's going on. So what I'm reading is it says that by default, so under automatic pruning, it says by default, Argo Cd does not delete the resources based on the mismatch of your Git to your cluster. In order to do that, you should have auto pruning enabled. So I was assuming that, okay, so if I do auto pruning enabled and I have auto sync enabled, that means as soon as I create a new resource that is not in my Git, that would be deleted. And then the other thing in the back of my mind was, now does Argo Cd care about non-K-test resources versus K-test resources. So for the example of a non-K-test resource, because I think Kevin was pointing out that for core Kubernetes resources, still those resources don't get deleted, but at least the test was okay. So let me create a non-Kubernetes resource, so I'm sure that is expected to get deleted. And then when it didn't get deleted, then I was thinking maybe, am I understanding correctly how auto prune would work?
I think there is kind of, I think there is, I don't know if there is in UI auto prune, but I think it's called just prune. And basically the idea is it doesn't matter how sync was triggered manually or automatically. Prune is the flag that decides if resources should be deleted during the syncing process or not. Yeah, and I know that there is open issue. It's a not issue, it's a feature request. So we have auto syncing, we have self-healing, and they kind of tie together. So if you want to get self-healing, when Argo Cd kind of trying to protect itself and trying to protect resources, you must enable auto sync, which means application is going to react on every change in Git, and it will try to upgrade to each new commit. And so request is to decouple self-healing and auto-syncing, so that if self-healing could be enabled without auto-syncing, and Argo CD would, so user would have to manually sync application once, and then self-healing will make sure to synchronize cluster state to the most recent commit SHA of most recent sync.
Got it.
Maybe that is what, so yeah, maybe
So,
that's what you're asking for. So if we have this feature, then you can disable autosync, enable self-healing, and then in this case, you still manually can decide when to move to the next commit, but self-heal will protect the current commit kind of.
okay, so if we think about one test case, so if we forget self-healing for now, self-healing is unchecked, auto sync is enabled, auto prune is enabled. As a user, I haven't done a git commit, but what I did is on my cluster, I created a new resource.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's auto sync, I'm expecting it's periodically doing a poll to see if a diff is there. And since it sees a new resource on my Argo CD cluster, does Argo CD delete this resource or not?
And self-healing is disabled? Is it what
Yes, self-healing is disabled, auto sync and auto prune is enabled.
Yeah, it won't delete it because I feel like there is no such thing as auto prune. If it's there, then it's maybe that's what causing confusion. There is just
let me to see the documentation. I think it says auto prune if I'm not mistaken.
But I think there's a slight misunderstanding because Argo CD won't touch any resources that it has not created by itself.
Oh yeah. And
so,
this is too.
So if you go manually into your cluster and create a new resource in a namespace where also a application lives that Argo CD has deployed, Argo CD will consider this resource just as orphaned.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, whether you have self-healing enabled or disabled, or pruning enabled or disabled, Argo CD should not touch the resource you have manually created.
Oh, so the test I did was Argo CD immediately deleted the resource I created when self-healing was checked.
But only, so from my understanding, this should only happen if you create a resource that has the label on it that Argo CD uses to identify to which application the resource belongs.
I think the same. Yeah, I think you're right, Ken.
Otherwise, it's a bug. So if that really happened, we should try to have this reproduced.
Okay, so I think I have one proposition if the team feels it's okay. So let's say if I create a table with all 5 different settings, and then I identify some Kubernetes resources and some non-Kubernetes resources, and I observe exactly what I did and which resources got deleted or not, And then if I share that finding with the team to see if this actual behavior is the expected behavior, and then maybe we can take it from there.
Yeah, that would actually be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Do you remember the label that Argo Cd would watch that you just mentioned?
Oh, it's app.kubernetes.io/instance by default. So I know that if you use the Helm chart, it will use another label. If you install Argo CD using the Argo CD Helm chart, the community maintained one.
I was using like the regular Argo CD operator, and I think a v.1.7.7 operator.
Yeah, we can double check to see if that resource have the label on.
Yeah, I posted it in chat.
All right. Thanks.
All right. I think we run out of topics. So anyone else wants to discuss anything?
I think it's very few times we run out of topics. Most of the time,
mostly
we run overboard. We have to push topics to the next call. When I had my topic today at number 6, I thought, good luck. I probably won't get the phone.
So
yeah,
if you want to, play with some new Argo CD UI features, I suggest to take a look at new logs viewer. So Argo CD team at Intuit recently got a new engineer. He's very passionate about user interface, Remington. So he worked on pods view, and now he focused on logs viewer. And yeah, please give your feedback about it, because it's getting, I think it's now getting kind of feature parity with kubectl logs. Recently, I remember I would use Argo CD user interface to see logs of a very simple application, but it was not as useful as kubectl. And I guess goal of this iteration is to really make it 100% useful. Yeah, I didn't plan to do any demo, just encouraging people to take a look and give your feedback, because it's kind of, I think Remington is waiting for feedback right now. And if you ask for a change, most likely he will just jump on it and do what you think is right.
Is it already in the latest master code?
It is, yeah, it's in master. It's even available in our dev environment. Okay. Yeah, so I'm just going to open it really quick and show that it's hopefully working. Yeah, so the idea is that it has pagination, and it even has like light mode and night mode, and it has follow, unfollow. And I know that we plan to add more things, like there is already a filtering in master and ability to open it in the full screen. And I guess next thing is to add previous pod, and maybe that's it. I don't even know what else kubectl has that this UI don't have. Yeah, so I think idea that if you never want to switch back to kubectl, then mission accomplished. Then it's
That's awesome. Remington is really gaining traction, no?
So.
Since we do have some time, I want to bring one of the other issue into light. I added in the chat. This is already in the docs page, the E2E. There's a scale warning banner that says this documentation is out of date, but I think many of our colleagues say that like the documentation is actually updated. It's just the banner hasn't been taken out. So do we need to have an issue that validates that the documentation is actually updated, or someone could just do a PR to take that banner out?
I think maybe we need to ask you, Jan, do you remember what was the reason to add this banner? And I feel like it's, I don't think it's out of out of date right now. Maybe we can remove it.
Probably we can remove it. Sure. I remember I wanted to migrate the developer documentation to the new repository that Ed has set up. But I think we can remove this banner because I haven't found the time for the migration yet. So
I think, Devon, if you have time, maybe you can just create PR, just kill that banner, and then we can solve the issue.
Yeah, that's a good plan.
Sounds good.
Oh,
thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, no.
Okay, and I wanted, it's a nice segue into another question. So Regina, she was working on two things, basically she was trying to add a version banner for Argo Cd documentation when it's hosted on Read the Docs. And the next kind of part of the same effort was to create a warning message, which is shown to user if user landed on all documentation. And I recently found that actually we already have documentation for Argo Cd. So she already get like most of it ready. Let me open it really quick. And I just wanted to show you what I mean. Yeah, so that documentation is already live on Read the Docs, but basically just no one knows it exists. It has banner selector. So it has a version selector. It doesn't have the banner yet. And yesterday I realized that banner, I don't think it's it's must have. Maybe we can go live with what we have. Like, what do you think? And the reason I'm asking is that I keep seeing questions again and again, and people get confused that they see a description of documentation that describes feature which is not yet available. For example, most recent example, Argo Cd util, documentation says it's available, it can be downloaded, but it is not yet available. It's not even released. And basically,
same question I've read about the app create with a plugin environment, which
So honestly, I don't see any reason why don't we switch like now to, I mean, not now, like today, for example, to that new website. All we have to do, we would need to create a redirect from existing documentation to that documentation, to Argo Cd Read the Docs. But it's not a big kind of, technically it's not that difficult. We just need to have one,
I would recommend so to deprecate maybe the previous documentation, like with a banner. Say this is an archive, and please update your bookmarks to Argo Cd Read the Docs IO. Or would you want to put the redirect on the DNS name?
So you're saying maybe you want to suggest a little kind of gradual approach. So first, user would open all documentation, and we would show banner somewhere at the top that says, "Hey, new documentation is available here," and maybe a quick.
No. I think I was just expressing myself in a complicated way. So we update the URL on the GitHub page, and I don't know. I think in the README there's also to point to this new URL, and maybe not to latest, but to stable.
Oh yeah, yes. Latest we can configure
right
the default.
But so many people probably have bookmarks to the documentation hosted on GitHub pages.
Yes.
And so my proposal was to put a banner on the GitHub pages version. that
Yeah.
says this is an archive, and all the new versions of documentation, all the new stuff will come at Read the Docs, so that the bookmarks won't break for the users, and it's clear that they are currently watching an archive and not stable or latest or whatever version.
Yeah, and quick question: what if we could automatically redirect old bookmarks to the new one? Do you think it makes sense to auto redirect or just show
That
banner still?
it would make sense, but I think I've mentioned it earlier in one earlier call that I have a complete restructuring of the documentation coming up. So basically this would break all bookmarks anyway.
Okay.
Because I've resorted many things and moved things around and stuff like that. So
I see. Yeah, that kind of, I think it's a good compromise. I would, in that banner, I still, as a convenience, I would put kind of a quick link, see that same page in the new documentation. And then, so in the beginning, it's going to work. And then later, there will be a discrepancy between docs, but it's okay. So, okay, I like that proposal with the banner. So, and it's really easy to do. It's just a small improvement. Anyone has objections to move to, Read the Docs version? I mean, we spoke about it before, and I think anyone have objections to kind of execute that plan which Jan proposed to have a banner here and run GitHub pages at the same time with Read the Docs, and banner will basically explain to users that, hey, there is new version.
Sounds good.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, and I think it's important. We have Google Analytics for Argo Cd documentation. It amaze me. Every time I open it, there is at least 20, 25 people looking at the documentation like in real time at the time when I open it. And yeah, so it's like a popular website, with the amount of traffic is comparable to something which has, entertainment or something. Okay.
Great.
That's awesome. All right. So for now, I think for real, no more topics unless anyone wants to discuss something else. Okay. If not, then we have 8 minutes left. So we can go back, get some coffee, and then get to work or sleep.
Awesome.
Stop sharing. All right.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day or evening. Bye-bye.
Bye.